Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. We are back with the glossary of legal terms. The first phrase today is onus of proof. Onus of proof refers to the responsibility of a party to prove the facts they assert in a case. Typically, the plaintiff or prosecution bears the burden of proof. Failure to meet this onus results in losing the case. The standard of proof may be beyond reasonable doubt in criminal cases or preponderance of evidence in civil cases. It ensures fairness by requiring evidence before legal consequences are imposed. The next phrase is lex mercatoria. Lex mercatoria or law merchant refers to a body of commercial law developed by merchants through customs and practices in international trade. It operates outside any single national legal system, relying on universally accepted commercial norms. In modern times, it influences international arbitration, trade agreements, and commercial courts. It emphasizes flexibility, fairness, and efficiency in a cross-border commerce. Lex mercatoria bridges gaps between different national legal systems. The next term is grievance procedure. A grievance procedure is a formal process through which employees can raise complaints or concerns about workplace issues. It provides a structured mechanism for resolving disputes fairly. This process typically involves several steps, including informal discussion, written complaints, and formal hearings. It ensures that employees' rights are protected while maintaining workplace harmony. Many labor laws and collective bargaining agreements mandate such procedures. The next phrase is clear and convincing evidence. Clear and convincing evidence is a standard of proof used in legal cases, higher than a preponderance of evidence but lower than beyond a reasonable doubt. It requires that the evidence presented must be highly and substantively more probable to be true than not. This standard is used in cases involving fraud, termination of parental rights, or certain civil commitments. It ensures that decisions with serious consequences are not made lightly. It emphasizes quality and persuasiveness of evidence rather than quantity. The next term is legal abode. Legal abode refers to a person's official place of residence recognized for legal and administrative purposes. It is important for jurisdiction, taxation, voting, and benefits eligibility. A legal abode may differ from a person's physical or temporary residence. Proof of legal abode often requires documentation such as utility bills, registration certificates, or official identification. The concept prevents disputes about a domicile and a legal responsibility. The next term is motive. Motive is the underlying reason that promotes a person to act. In a criminal law, motive is not an element of the crime, but it helps establish intent. Proving motive can strengthen circumstantial evidence. In civil cases, motive may be relevant to claims like fraud or malice. Understanding motive aids in interpreting behavior and liability. The next phrase is new trial. A new trial is a court-ordered re-examination of a case after a judgment or verdict has been rendered. It is usually granted when there has been an error of law, juror misconduct, or newly discovered evidence. A new trial gives parties a chance to have their case reconsidered. It may be limited to certain issues or cover the entire case. Its purpose is to correct injustice and ensure a fair outcome. The next phrase is gross income. Gross income refers to the total income earned by an individual or entity before deductions such as taxes, insurance, or retirement contributions. It includes wages, business income, interest, dividends, and other sources. This figure is important for calculating tax liabilities and financial eligibility. In a legal context, it is often used to determine child support or alimony. It represents the starting point for measuring financial capacity. The next phrase is zoning exception. A zoning exception is special permission granted to allow land use that would otherwise be prohibited in a particular zoning district. It is usually granted after public hearing and a review process. Exceptions are made when a strict application of zoning laws would cause unnecessary hardship. They balance individual property rights with their community planning goals. The decision is often discretionary and it can be appealed if denied. The next phrase is offshore company. An offshore company is a legal entity registered in a jurisdiction outside the country where its owners reside. Such companies are often used for tax planning, asset protection, and international trade. They must comply with the regulations of the jurisdiction where they are incorporated. Offshore companies may face scrutiny to prevent money laundering and tax evasion. They play a major role in a global business structures. The next phrase is political question. A political question is an issue that the courts refuse to adjudicate because it is more appropriate for legislative or executive resolution. It reflects judicial restraint and a separation of powers. Courts avoid deciding matters like a foreign policy, impeachment, or electoral disputes. The doctrine prevents a judiciary from overstepping into political domains. Its scope ensures balance between law and politics. The next phrase is Motor Vehicle Act. The Motor Vehicle Act is legislation regulating the registration, licensing, and use of motor vehicles. It sets rules for road safety, insurance, and penalties for violations. The Act empowers authorities to enforce traffic laws. It protects drivers, passengers, and pedestrians by standardizing road conduct. Each jurisdiction may have its own version of the Act. The next term is extraction. Extraction is the legal process of surrendering a person accused or convicted of a crime from one jurisdiction to another. It is governed by treaties, domestic laws, and principles of international cooperation. The requesting country must present sufficient evidence to justify the transfer. Certain crimes or political offences may be excluded from extraction. It plays a key role in combating transnational crimes and ensuring fugitives face justice. The next term is omission. Omission is the failure to do something that a person is legally or contractually obligated to do. It can be deliberate or negligent. In law, omission can create a liability if there was a duty to act. For example, failure to rescue when legally required. Criminal law sometimes penalizes omissions such as not reporting a crime. It is significant in torts, contracts, and regulatory complaints. The next phrase is judge advocate. A judge advocate is a legal officer in the military responsible for advising commanders on legal matters and conducting prosecutions in court martials. They combine roles of both a legal advisor and a prosecutor in the armed forces justice system. Their duties include reviewing cases, ensuring compliance with the military law, and protecting the rights of service members. They may also provide guidance on administrative, operational, and international law within the military. Judge advocates are typically trained lawyers who serve in the armed forces legal corps. The next term is clemency. Clemency refers to the power of a head of state or authority to reduce or forgive a criminal sentence. It can take the form of a pardon, communication of sentence, or reprieve. Clemency is usually granted for reasons of mercy, rehabilitation, or humanitarian concerns. It does not necessarily erase the conviction, but it can lessen its impact. It represents a check on the justice system by introducing compassion. The next phrase is non-verbal agreement. A non-verbal agreement is an understanding or contract formed through actions, conduct, or gestures rather than spoken or written words. These are also called implied in fact contracts. They are legally binding if they meet the requirements of offer, acceptance, and consideration. Proving them can be challenging as evidence often relies on surrounding circumstances and behavior. They play a significant role in commercial transactions and employment situations. The next phrase is open contract. An open contract is an agreement where some terms, such as price or time of performance, are left undefined or open for determination later. It is enforceable if the essential terms can be reasonably ascertained. Open contracts are common in commercial transactions where flexibility is needed. Courts may interpret missing terms based on industry standards or reasonableness. It promotes ongoing business relationships while allowing adjustment. The next phrase is personal liability. Personal liability is the legal responsibility of an individual to answer for debts, damages, or obligations. In a business, owners of sole proprietorships and partnerships often have a personal liability for business debts. It allows creditors to claim against personal assets. Limiting personal liability is a key reason for forming corporations or limited liability companies. Personal liability ensures accountability, but it can pose financial risk. The next phrase is motor vehicle law. Motor vehicle law is the broader legal framework governing road traffic and vehicle operations. It includes statutes, regulations, and case law. It addresses licensing, safety standards, liability, and enforcement mechanisms. It evolves with the technology such as autonomous vehicles. Its goal is to ensure orderly and safe transportation systems.